Hello, everyone. Welcome to Random Encounter 336 or 336. My name is John Logan, and I don't usually do these, but I feel the need to start this episode with a PSA. Random Encounter listeners, don't forget your flu shot, especially if you want to be as healthy as I am right now, which is not feeling very healthy at all. I got a flu shot yesterday, and my arm feels okay. Not too sore, but I am dealing with a lot of flu-like symptoms right now. You know, general lack of energy, feeling sick, mild headache, weird nose stuff, flu-like symptoms. However, if I am exposed to the flu in the future, I will presumably be invincible. But right now I'm not feeling that well, so if I sound a little bit stuffed up or that kind of thing, that's the reason why. But vaccinations are important, and I better make sure that my guests this week are up on their vaccinations. Hey, Tom.
Hey there, I'm all up on my vaccinations, don't you worry.
Excellent. And Audra.
Hey, I'm pretty up to date on them too. So.
Oh, good. We're going to be a healthy podcast, except for me. Yeah, it's so stupid because I know it's important, and I know that it will maybe prevent me from getting super sick if I actually caught the flu. But at the same time, it's a disincentive to get it because I'm scheduling a day where I'm sick, which kind of stinks. But that's the trade-off. Okay, so we're going to talk about two, I guess technically they're both adventure games, visual novel adventure games today. And the first one is something that's been really making some big waves the last couple of weeks through a revival of the Telltale Games style of adventure game. So for those who have listened to the podcast and know video game history, Telltale Games redefined narrative adventure games in the 2010s, and they had games like The Walking Dead, for example. And these were very choice-driven adventure games, much different from their earlier output, which were basically point-and-click adventure games in the style of LucasArts. These games got quite a bit of mainstream attention, and unfortunately, they kind of overdid it. They had a period of rapid expansion and some very difficult production cycles, and basically quantity over quality. They got a lot of licenses for games like Back to the Future, which is my favorite movie, and I adore the movies. I'm not a giant fan of the story of the adventure game. Jurassic Park, which was just garbage. Anyway, it culminated in the studio shutting down, unfortunately, in 2017 or 18, I think. 90% of the staff got fired. In recent years, there has been a revival there. They've revived, the company has revived the Telltale name, but other companies have sprung up in the meantime in a hilarious way, very similar to the way that Telltale sprung up from LucasArts. And they've started to do their own takes on these adventure games. And one of them is Ad Hoc Studios. And they just released a brand new narrative-focused adventure game called Dispatch. And it is a superhero narrative-focused game, which a lot of people have been comparing to one of the best television shows that was not made. And I really, really like the look of this. So it was released in a season, so episodes. I think there were 8 of them. And now they're all released. So we were waiting till they were all released. And Tom, you played and you're reviewing Dispatch. What were your overall impressions now that you played through the entire season?
I absolutely loved it. I mean, it's safe to say that old Telltale spirit and flame is well and truly back. Not that was really ever in doubt. There was a bit of turmoil there because they're supposedly, Ad Hoc are supposedly also in the midst of working on The Wolf Among Us Season 2 and have been for quite some time. But apparently there's some rights issues or something, and they have fully, from the articles that have come out recently, they've fully written the series or most of the series, but Telltale, the newer Telltale that got bought out, are sitting on it for some reason. And it's just sort of hanging there in limbo for the time being. So hopefully after this, they can move on to that.
Yeah, I hope so, because I really like The Wolf Among Us. I used to like Fables. I mean, I liked like the first 5 volumes of Fables. Unfortunately, the author, Bill Willingham, has sort of gone off the right-wing cliff in the last...
Oh dear, I didn't know that. Wow.
Oh yeah, he's I don't know if he's full mega, but he is flirting.
Ugh.
Yeah.
It's interesting given the nature of Fables as a universe.
You can, but the thing is, when you start, I didn't look at it through this lens. I just read it and really, really enjoyed it. But then I started looking at it through the lens. You can see the libertarian politics early on, and you can start to see it evolve. And I think he's a remarkably talented writer. There's no hit against his politics. It's just, anyway, regardless, we're not talking about that. We're talking about it's a fun superhero adventure that's not written by him. So could you give us what's the game's premise exactly?
So you play as Robert Robertson III, also known as Mecha Man. He is a superhero that exists in a world of superheroes and supervillains that doesn't have any powers and just has a mech suit akin to Iron Man, Tony Stark. And during an encounter with his arch nemesis Shroud, his suit is severely damaged. He's hospitalized for a number of weeks and basically kind of wanders around aimlessly, listlessly, looking for purpose. And then a superhero by the name of Blonde Blazer approaches him and proposes that he works at the Superhero Dispatch Network, which is a dispatch center for superheroes and supervillains. They get given the layout of Los Angeles and, the crimes that are sprouting out all over the place, and, can direct them to various places. And, you have to utilize each hero in your roster's certain skills for certain situations. So there's a degree of strategy there. But otherwise, it's like a fun, sort of a workplace superhero comedy, which is really unique and fun premise, and it's utilized really well. Honestly, I would say too well, in that stuff is sort of focused on much more than the overarching plot stuff. Kind of the whole pursuit of Shroud as a villain kind of takes a backseat after a while. It's just about Robert and his relationship with his team of supervillains that are... He's given a very specific team called the Z Team to work with. They're a group of former supervillains that the SDN is looking to reform in something called the Phoenix Program, to uplift the supervillains and make them become productive members of society and make them fully fledged superheroes. And the overarching story is sort of about Robert getting to know them individually and them, gaining their trust and learning how to utilize them and their skills and, turning them into superheroes. And it's genuinely really compelling. It's hilariously funny. It's one of the funniest games I think ever written, if I would be so bold as to claim that. But yeah, it absolutely has that old Telltale charm. I'd say it's honestly, all told, it's probably up there with, your Wolf Among Us or Walking Dead Season 1, Tales from the Borderlands. It's among that pedigree, absolutely.
It's really nice to hear, because I remember years ago, this is not the first time this sort of premise has been tried. There was a show called Powerless that was set in the DC universe with a bunch of people who were working at Wayne Tech. And a few, I believe back in the heyday of Marvel, when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was on ABC, they were trying to get a show off the ground called Damage Control that was based around the cleanup crew of the Marvel universe. So this idea has been tried and not successful, but apparently the secret was to put it into a video game format, which makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah,
and it's interesting because apparently they originally workshopped it to the major streaming services as an animated show. And, for whatever reason, those streaming services weren't biting, so they decided to utilize their talents to turn it into a video game, which, clearly has worked out arguably better than it could have done if it was an animated show on Amazon, for instance.
Oh, no, that's pretty neat, actually, that they initially pitched it as one thing and then it became more successful as the other.
Yeah, the streaming world right now is kind of... It's really hard to pick what to watch. There's a lot of it. It's going into any streaming service, you're just overwhelmed by choice. Moving it to video games, not that we aren't overwhelmed by choice here too, but specifically moving it into a narrative adventure game in the style of Telltale, a lot less competition there for people who are looking for this exact experience. And because of that, this game has been apparently a massive success, like millions and millions of copies sold. And it's not just a narrative adventure game in the style of Walking Dead, where it's like you're talking to somebody, you're given 3 choices, you pick one, and you get the thing that they will remember that. There's also a hacking mini game, which are some of my least favorite things in video games. But there's also the management sim style, where you're basically doing your job. You are looking at LA, and you have to dispatch the various people on your superhero team to take care of emergencies. Let's just talk through those 3 things. So first off, let's talk about the narrative side. Like I said, when you make a significant choice, the game notifies you that the character will remember your actions. Classic Telltale. How impactful did you feel that these decisions were in developing the direction of the plot and relationships as the season went on?
I'd actually say that overall, the narrative adventure side of the game is maybe the weakest part. And that's not necessarily to say that it's bad, but it's just that the other stuff is so much more interesting that, the narrative adventure stuff just kind of feels like fodder almost, which is weird to say since it's like the majority of the experience.
Well, let's say it's framing rather than plot. It's framing. It's yeah.
Well, I mean, the reason I say that is that this game has, like previous Telltale games, it has QTEs, but the QTEs are entirely superfluous. If you fail them, generally they don't lead to anything, any other consequences or any different scenes or even animations. Is the scene just pauses and it waits for you to do the action. At the start of the game, it gives you a choice, whether you want to do the QTEs or just have it be like cinematic and it does all of them for you. I would actually recommend you do the cinematic where it does all of them for you, because you're literally not missing anything. There's not like a scenario where there's like a totally different scene that will play out if you miss a certain number of QTEs. Like, it's all just flavor, fodder, whatever. That's what I mean by that.
I feel like QTEs in a lot of cases are basically checking to see if you're still paying attention. Just making sure you haven't zoned out. It's like, okay, I got to do something. Okay, hit the button. Yeah,
it's kind of like an excuse for interactivity. Just very minimal.
It definitely feels more like that than anything else, because, the episodes are relatively short. I believe the longest episode is the last one, which is like an hour and a half. And the rest of them are sort of like that window of 40 minutes to an hour, generally. I think one is even like half an hour or 35 minutes. But yeah. So, they sort of get in and out. And I mean, I would also say actually that episodic structure, I mean, it clearly worked to their advantage, because from what they've, been showing, Ad Hoc Studio has been showing, like the player retention across the 8 episodes has been very consistent. Because, normally with that sort of thing, you would expect like people like me did, where you're like, oh, I'll just play, I'll wait till episode 8, the last episode comes out, and then I'll just play all of them. But it seems like people were playing them every week or every couple of weeks. So, I mean, clearly it worked in their favor.
Okay, let's move on to the management portion of the game, which I believe is a much larger proportion of the game than has been widely put out there. So, like, it's your job. It's your job as Robert. You are sitting down, you're given a map, and you're said dispatch these heroes throughout the world. So basically, it becomes a management sim.
Yeah, and sort of like a management sim / strategy, because there is a certain amount of strategy, because you're with each of the superheroes or supervillains, turned into superheroes on your roster. You get like a spreadsheet of all of their skills, strengths, weaknesses, and when you're presented with certain scenarios, like a cat in a tree, for instance, like you might not necessarily send the fire hero, but maybe you might send the water hero, that sort of thing, where you need to like, plan out, you're given a scenario and you need to plan out
the best hero for the job.
Yeah, the best hero for the job, cross-reference with your roster, who's available at the time, because, once you send someone out, you have to wait a certain amount of time before they're available again. That whole stuff is really interesting, and I enjoyed it, It's probably the thing I enjoyed the most. Oh no, it's definitely the thing I enjoyed the most in the game, which is
I mean, the
funny
other thing is the hacking minigame.
Yeah, but I mean, that's... Yeah, well, I'll go into that, but that's sort of like a more minor part of the game. But yeah, the meat of the experience is definitely the management sim stuff. And yeah, that stuff is all super interesting. And yeah, I definitely enjoyed it more than I figured I was going to going in. Yeah, I'd say there's like... from the start, you only get like one portion of that for the gameplay in every episode, and then as you get more used to it, as Robert gets more acclimated to the role, you start to, a lot more of the episode becomes those segments. And yeah, it's
well, it's not just static either. Like your characters, your team gains levels. They gain experience, they improve, and that, I would imagine, gives you a sense of progression.
Yeah, definitely. And they level up, and then once they level up, you can choose certain skills for them which help you in the management sim stuff. Like they can be dispatched, their timer is shorter, so you can dispatch them out again sooner. Stuff like that. You get certain perks once you level them up. And yeah, I mean, it does, feed those sort of RPG-like sensibilities amidst all the narrative adventure stuff. So yeah, in terms of pacing, it's like a really cool addition to, what otherwise could have just been a, average Telltale-like narrative experience. Yeah, it's really cool.
Okay, let's very briefly, because I can't imagine it's that complex, let's talk about the hacking minigame. So it's a hacking minigame.
Yeah, it's sort of, it's like, a mini game is really the best way to describe it. It's just, there's not really much challenge to it. I believe in the last 2 episodes is the only time that you are challenged on those segments and you actually have consequences. Otherwise, it's just something else you can do to keep you occupied. I would compare it to, like Audra was saying, it is kind of like the QTEs, like to keep your interest and make sure you're still paying attention. That's kind of how it feels anyway. It doesn't really have any, you're not really challenged very much gameplay wise. And yeah, it's just to make sure you're keeping focused and just to give you something else to do if you're, a bit bored of doing management sim stuff, just to distract you for a bit. But yeah, it's just like a basic, just a basic little puzzle mini game segment. Really, it's not really a core part of the gameplay in any meaningful way that feeds into any systems or anything.
Well, if you haven't been able to tell, I don't really care about a hacking minigame. What I do care about, though, is story, and specifically character-driven story. And I think that's one of the reasons why this thing has really caught my eye. I am a massive comic book fan, and I know my comic book history, both DC and Marvel, inside and out. Clearly, these are original characters, but I really dig how they're going into the superhero and supervillain archetypes and putting their own spin on it, and specifically the way that character relationships are handled in this. Like, you build stronger bonds with your team and the other people you're working with over time, right?
Yeah, and all of that stuff is factored into the management sim stuff a bit. Like, if you favor certain heroes, for certain things, they might favor you, or, consequences from the narrative side of things might feed into the management sim stuff, and they might behave a certain way when you dispatch them, that sort of thing. But yeah, when it comes to the characters, I mean, like, you certainly have your archetypes of superheroes, like, here's the fire superhero, here's the invisible superhero, like the mech superhero, the strong superhero. But what really is the key here, I would say, is obviously the writing, but also the voice performances, because the cast here is like,
it's nuts,
crazy.
You got Breaking Bad's Aaron Paul, who has never done video games as far as I can tell, but apparently just knocks it out of the park. You have famed voice actor and D&D player extraordinaire Laura Bailey, famed voice actor and D&D game master Matthew Mercer. You have the entire cast of Critical Role is in this. I'll just say that. Travis is in it. Basically everyone in the original cast of Critical Role is in this game in some fashion. So the quality of the performances is going to be just fantastic.
Yeah, and you also have, I mean, no disrespect to them, but at least to me initially, also interesting choices like you have the YouTuber streamer Jacksepticeye, you have the YouTuber Moist Critical, aka Charlie, you have Alana Pierce.
Oh, IGN, formerly of IGN.
Formerly of IGN, yeah, and also formerly of Sony Santa Monica until recently. Yeah, you have the rapper Young Gravy. Like, when that first trailer came out, I was like, that's the most random assortment of people. No disrespect to them individually or their acting skills, but yeah, it's just a very specific cast. But, having played it, like, it really is a case of I can't really imagine anyone else as those characters. It felt like, those characters were sort of reverse engineered to fit those actors and, those casting choices, because they all, I mean, at least among the core Z-Team cast, there's not a weak link in the bunch. They all, I mean, to my knowledge, they at the very least did pretty decently, but a lot of them did fantastically. And yeah, to me, they all crushed it.
Did you have a favorite vocal performance?
Favorite vocal performance? I mean, you could never go wrong with Laura Bailey, but she, is exceptionally great in this. Aaron Paul also, for not just his first video game role, but also one of his only, if not his first, like, voice role. He does fantastic. Even though it is his natural voice, of course, I never felt like, oh, this is just an Aaron Paul stand-in. This is just Aaron Paul, the character. He definitely felt like, oh, that's Robert Robertson, that's Mecha Man. His performance was definitely distinct enough to be, separated from him as an actor. And yeah, he was really impressive. But really, everyone was great in this, honestly.
That sounds fantastic. I'm super excited to play this thing at some point. So, like we said earlier, the game was released in episodic format in a season structure, very, again, similar to a television season. Not shorter, 8 episodes, but still a television season. I was wondering, how does the structure, obviously, if there's going to be, I'm guessing here, I haven't seen anything, but I'm assuming that every episode ends with some kind of a cliffhanger of some sort to get you on to the next episode? I don't want to say Doctor Who-esque, but somewhat Doctor Who-esque.
It's funny, because they release them bi-weekly, like 2 episodes every week, for 4 weeks, so all 8 could come out by the end. I would say there's cliffhangers of the sort of Telltale caliber that you've come to expect from them every 2 episodes, not necessarily every individual episode. That's sort of how the structure seemed to me, because, the main cliffhangers that are like, okay, I need to play the next one, those are on episodes 2, 4, 6, and 8 respectively. I mean, obviously 8. Yeah, it's it definitely has those. It definitely had those hooks, and I mean, like the Steam charts and everything else that they've been showing can say. I mean, obviously, given that the player retention was pretty consistent the entire time, I mean, obviously it worked, and people were hooked the whole way through. I'd say, it definitely has those sort of trademark Telltale narrative hallmarks that you've come to expect, like the cliffhangers. And there are certain episodes and certain cliffhangers where I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't wait a week to play this and I just played it all at the end, because there are a couple that are brutal cliffhangers that you're like, I need to play the next episode now. I can't wait another week.
Yeah. I actually, a good question would be, you say they're at 2, 4, 6, 8. That would put it at there's a cliffhanger in the last episode. So do you think that they're going to be setting this up to do a season 2?
Oh, definitely. I suppose that sort of factors into my biggest complaint with the game is episode 8. Episode 8 is weird. It doesn't feel like the last episode, of the season, and it doesn't feel like the last. It feels very rushed, which is bizarre to me, because from what, it seems like this game was developed in ideal conditions, like conditions that old Telltale would have dreamed to have. And, which is sort of why the episodic structure was a thing, was because they were working on so many games at once and they could only do so much. They couldn't really afford to develop entire seasons in one go. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some lingering plot threads that can be pulled on for future seasons. But yeah, episode 8 feels really rushed, and it's weird because the rest of the rest of the almost a show. So yeah, the rest of the game, all the other 7 episodes before it are all, really well paced, really well, narratively, storytelling is great, characters are great, writing's great. But the last episode, it just feels like they were trying to do too much at once, and they weren't really sure what they wanted to do with certain characters. It's tricky to go into without, spoiling, but, the main villain, Shroud, that the game keeps building up.
Hilariously played by Matthew Mercer. If you had to take a wild guess who Matthew Mercer was playing in this game.
Yeah, he's... I mean, I hesitate to put it in such a harsh way, but he's kind of a nothing character. The story definitely seems like it's going for like there's something to this villain. They've been playing up who this villain is, what his relation to the main character of Robert is, and it seems like they're going somewhere with that, and they just don't, and he just is a bad guy, which was really disappointing to me because so much of this story seems like, they're going out of their way to subvert standard superhero tropes.
Is that a spoiler? Should we?
Not really.
Okay.
It's vague enough that, you can't really read too much into it, but those who, if you know, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I really, really am happy. This, I heard about it. I was like, okay, this could be good, or it could just be crap. Like, it could just be a Telltale style game that's uninspired. And it sounds like it's very much the opposite of that. It sounds like it's taking what Telltale, I guess, building upon it, which is very exciting. Because while point and click adventure games are my favorites, the narrative adventure games that Telltale developed are just wonderful. Well, some of them are just wonderful. So yeah, this is also subject matter that I really, really like. And I love the fact that it looks like they've created their own universe of superheroes, and it actually works. Smart setting it in LA, actually, instead of New York. Most superhero, it's either set in New York or it's set in Metropolis or Gotham, all of which are New York. So setting it in LA, sets it apart slightly. Smart move.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like LA jokes, so it's not just like a setting that they pulled out of a hat. Like, let's just put it in LA. There's definitely, a lot of the story and a lot of the jokes are centered around LA, so it's definitely not a trivial decision on their part.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Tom, for playing Dispatch, playing through the whole season of gaming, which is a model again that Telltale pioneered and was abandoned for quite a few years. So it's kind of neat they brought it back in it's a smart model for a narrative adventure game because it does follow the television, the beats of television, the episodic nature of it. That's smart.
Yeah, and no offense to anyone else that has, tried that formula, but this game kind of proves why they were and are the best at it. They pioneered it and they really are the best at it.
Okay, we're going to move on to another, adventure game visual novel now, but one that is not so much based on Telltale, but is based on more of a Japanese adventure game style. So the game's name is Detective Instinct Farewell, My Beloved, which is a interesting title. It's not a Japanese visual novel narrative adventure. It's American made, but it does look like it. Like, it looks very much like Ace Attorney or Hotel Dusk, for those who remember that on the DS. Audra, you've played through this. You open it by calling it a fantastic visual novel. Or fantastic indie visual. Hang on, what's your exact quote here? The result is an indie graphic adventure that tells a complete and satisfying story without overstaying its welcome.
Yes.
Pretty high praise.
Yes, it's actually a really good just mystery story if you are really interested in that for your gaming tastes.
Oh boy, am I.
And, yes. And it's I like that it's not a very lengthy game. It took me about 5.5 hours to actually complete it.
Mm-hmm.
But it tells a really, really good story in that time frame, and it doesn't have like really any loose ends to it, which I was surprised by. So it was very satisfying at the end.
It's one and done.
Yep, one and done.
Cool.
And I can't really spoil too much about like the actual mystery, but it's really makes some really surprising commentary at times.
That's actually really cool. We'll talk about how it starts, though, because that's not really a spoiler. So it starts off with a murder at a hotel the night before the main characters are set to leave the country. And that is a very... I'm going to be doing some comparison in this because I'm looking at it and I'm just thinking, it's not Ace Attorney, but it looks very Ace Attorney inspired. That's a very Ace Attorney setup right there. Like that sounds like an opening case of an Ace Attorney game.
I was going to say it's very Agatha Christie.
Yeah, and the main character even gets woken up mistakenly by a police officer who gets the room number. And that's how he gets dragged into the case. In general, it's just that the guy mistook him for the suspect, and then it turns out he's not at all connected to it. And
well, like you said, and like I said a few minutes ago, it's very much inspired by like Hotel Dusk, Ace Attorney. Are you a fan of these games?
Yes.
I knew you were. I was just asking.
I especially love Ace Attorney.
Yeah, I'm a massive Ace Attorney fan. And this might be a case of if Capcom won't friggin' give us a new one, we'll make it ourselves.
Yes.
Even though it's a little bit different. There are no like courtroom sections or that kind of thing as I understand it.
No, there's no courtroom. You do have some points where you have to like prove to characters, that I know what I'm talking about and this is the thing, but it's not like at a courtroom setting.
Yeah, and the UI is actually feels very much like a throwback, and actually not to the DS. It feels like a throwback to like kind of what I guess you could say like this style of adventure game that you'd see on even the NES. Like there's talk, check, discuss, save, quit. You have a screenshot here. It seems like it is very much a retro throwback in terms of style.
Yes, there is some. I mean, they actually credit the Detective Famicom games as part of their inspiration too. And I think that kind of shows through in like the visual presentation in general.
I really should play those because they are foundational to a genre that I really, really like. So you specifically say that there's a very nostalgic feeling in this game, especially to those who have played like, well, Ace Attorney, that kind of thing.
Not as much zany characters, I'd say. There's like two golfer guys who are pretty zany because they're obsessed with golf and murder, which is funny. But otherwise, like the characters aren't maybe as quite off the wall, but they're actually really colorful and memorable at the same time.
It's very interesting to me that a lot of detective adventure games give you a very defined character, a very defined point of view. This game gives you kind of a bit more of a, he's like you say, he's not a blank slate, but he doesn't have a name. You call him Scholar in this.
Yes, you give him a name as you go through the prologue.
Yeah, he's the playable character in every sense of the word. And a lot of the character of the game seems to come from his relationships, for example, with the upperclassman Emma.
Yes. I actually, at first, I was like, why isn't Emma just the main character? Because it kind of seems like the later mystery about the woman on the train revolves more around her. But then I thought they did a really good job from a narrative stance of like establishing the protagonist as an actual fleshed out character with a story arc that goes in a surprising direction later on.
Is there a dynamic anything like the Phoenix assistant relationship?
I'd say Emma's more, she never becomes like a suspect herself.
Okay, that makes her immediately different from all of Phoenix's assistants.
Yeah. And she's a bit more take charge at times during investigations, which is why I was like, oh, she should be the main character. But
yeah,
but she actually, it's kind of the similar, there's like a sense that they have a partner dynamic. But she used to tutor him. And so he like still thinks of him as like a little brother figure, which kind of annoys the main character.
Very much investigative partners rather than like an assistant relationship. Okay. Another major part of its inspirations are the characters that surround the main characters. I'm looking at Vida and Monty is Yeah, she looks very dramatic, and he looks very attempting to be dapper.
Yes. Vita is, she's kind of over the top. She's very posh, and she wants to at least pretend she's high money. And so she puts on airs quite a lot throughout especially about, like, she often gets, like, migraines and stuff, and, like, they're debilitating, but it's kind of, like, funny how it's usually only when she doesn't want to talk to someone. She'll get, like, the migraine. Oh,
how convenient.
Yes. And Monty's, like, he actually doesn't talk much, but he's, his character arc is actually really interesting. Like, they have a very interesting married relationship.
Okay, there are a couple then. And you mentioned there's a creepy bartender?
Yes, there's a creepy bartender. As is usual in stories like this, they have to have someone who's not on the up and up, maybe. He makes tea that he gets people to try just to experiment with him.
Oh, okay. That is a little shifty.
Yeah.
It's... I guess this is just the genre. It's a visual novel. It's a detective game. It's an adventure game. Those are related but similar genres. Does it really hit a perfect, hopefully a very good balance of those three aspects to create a cohesive feel?
It's a pretty cohesive feel. I'd say the one thing that I thought it could have maybe done better slightly from a gameplay angle is I do feel it's almost like I'd say it could be too easy at times in terms of how to advance this. Like, they kind of very much, they don't flat out tell you exactly how to, but they're kind of like, maybe you should try pressing this character again, or...
Okay, so they're really trying to avoid the getting stuck aspect.
Yes.
Which, fair enough, I guess. What's the gameplay loop like? Like, how does it go when you at the beginning of a case?
Usually at the beginning of the case, you have a character present you with the mystery or problem that you're trying to solve. And then from there, you go from, like, scholar's room to the new area that you're looking to investigate and question people on. And you either question people or you investigate the area for clues, which means that you can, like, not only inspect things and get, like, insight onto this photo looks a little interesting or out of place, but then you also can, like, pick up certain items if they're important enough to be, like, clues later on.
And another couple of ways, really, that it helps you keep up with what's going on. There is a in-game note system, and there was also a review segment at the end of each chapter.
Yes, I actually really like the review segments because it just helps keep everything, like, the mystery in mind. It's like, okay, let's see what we've learned. And then it doesn't, like, really punish you if you get them wrong. But it does, like, just help you think back on what you, like, even earlier on in the chapter, what you did, and then kind of just puts everything together, like, nicely ties everything up. Helps you kind of figure out more about the overall mystery.
Well, I mean, it's a game that lasts about 5 hours or so. Like, it's not a super long game, which, to be honest, I kind of appreciate.
Yeah.
I like experiences that are not 150 hours. And because of that, I expect that its pacing is probably pretty good too.
Yes, it has a pretty good pacing. I never noticed any of the chapters being, like, overly long or short beyond, like, the first one, which was more just, here's how you get into the investigation.
The thing that really attracted me to this game off the top when I first saw it was, unsurprisingly, the art style, because it is very Ace Attorney-esque. It mixes 2D sprites with 3D backgrounds, which creates a rather striking visual style, I think.
Mm-hmm. And the animation, actually, for some of the important story cinemas it's really nicely done too, I think. So I kind of love the visual look of the game overall.
That's really, really cool. The music is pretty good too.
Yes, it's actually has, I think, like, live instrumentation.
Oh,
and
wow.
It kind of covers different musical genres for different pieces. So there's a very nice soundscape to it.
Crazy that they had the budget for that.
Yeah.
I mean, nice to hear it. For me,
Yes.
that does make a pretty big. That can make a pretty big difference.
Yes.
And it's the studio's first game too. Harmonica LLC. It's their first game, and in terms of that, it's pretty impressive what they pulled off. Like, I mean, they're an American studio, so it's not like they're very much inspired by Japanese adventure games, and it looks like they've really nailed the look and feel of it.
Yes.
Specifically, you mentioned that the script is very, very polished, and the writing is very polished.
Mm-hmm. There's not. I mean, for the fact that it's as text heavy as it is, it actually doesn't have any error, like grammatical or typographical errors in it, which I found
very
really
nice to hear, actually.
Yes, very nice to hear. And just the overall, I mean, there isn't like any hanging loose threads of plot. There isn't. It goes in some surprising directions, but everything ties together at the end, to be vague because I don't want to spoil it.
I was looking at an interview with some of the folks at Harmonica. It's a pandemic game. It's absolutely a pandemic game. It's apparently they all met in college and they drifted apart, but then during the pandemic, they all started hanging out online together and like, let's make a game. And then they did.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. That's pretty neat.
Yeah. I know quite a few developers who have followed that exact model, including a good friend of mine, Scott. You actually reviewed Little Guardsman.
Oh,
you reviewed
yeah.
it last year.
That was so cute.
Yeah, that's their story as well. So I suspect that's going to be a story of quite a few games going up into the future. I suppose I wanted to ask, you say the game is actually tied up, like they complete the game. There's no cliffhanger. There's no going. Is there room here for a sequel if it did do well?
I think they could theoretically make a sequel, maybe just kind of delving into certain, like the aftermath of what happens in the fictional country, because it actually ties into some of their politics and stuff. So I could see that being maybe a case for a different, or like that Scholar and Emma end up getting involved in some mysteries later on because of what happened here. It resolves, like the actual plot here resolves itself, but I feel like there's some ways they could maybe have them go on another investigation adventure.
Well, I just added it to my Steam wish list. So at some point I will play it because this game does look very, very much up my alley in terms of its look, its style, its story, everything. So thank you very much for playing it through and reviewing it for us. The review is currently up on the site if you wanted to check that out. I think you gave it 87?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty damn good score. Well, before we move on to the discussion question, I wanted to talk about some of the things I've been playing lately because due to some health circumstances this year, this has not been a banner year of playing video games for me. Up until very recently, the last game I completed was Sea of Stars, and that was way back in May. But I am now back on the video game playing train, and I just wanted to mention a few things that I've been playing over the last couple of weeks. If you listened to last week's Random, you heard how excited I was about the Seance of Blake Manor, and I had started playing just the first little bit of it, and I was kind of into it. And Caitlin got me even more excited about it, and boy, oh boy, did it not disappoint. Loved it, adored it. It's one of the best deductive games I've played in years. Feels super, super authentic to the era, the location, the characters. Everything about it feels very real and textured. And the deduction doesn't hold your hand in a lot of places. Like you really do need to put together things that you see around the manor that are not particularly connected. And that's one of my favorite styles of gameplay because it actually requires you to pay attention to what you're doing. So I could not recommend that game more if you enjoy narrative deductive games. Then after I finished it, I just could not help myself. I was still in the mood for craving some of that sweet brain puzzle action. So I bought and installed Blueprints. Currently playing through that. I love it. Maybe not quite as much as Blake Manor, but I'm absolutely loving it. The only problem is, Tom, you reviewed it for us, right?
I did indeed.
I remember talking to you about it and getting really excited, and then just like not being in a good headspace to play that kind of game at all at the time. What's killing me about it is I've quote unquote I've beaten the game. This isn't a spoiler. It's the literal goal of the game. It's to inherit the house. You need to find room 46. I found room 46, and after you find room 46, the game is not over, not even close. And it's driving me crazy because I figured out a lot of the puzzles and a lot of like the messages and things like that in the game. And then I started, like I mentioned in Blake Manor, you're looking around and you start noticing connections between rooms in the house that are not immediately connected by any narrative threads or anything. And you start putting it together. And then you have a moment where you're like, wait a second. And then you like start putting together everything. You're like, there's this, and this is over here. And then you just can't make that final little bit of a leap to the end. And you're like, you figured out like 90% of the puzzle and it's completely useless because you can't figure out that last 10% and it drives you crazy. That's where I'm at right now.
Have you been playing with a notepad or something similar to keep track of stuff?
Tom, I have literally a giant unorganized stack of loose leaf beside me right now. Yeah. And I've been taking photos of every single document I have I get to in the game, and I've been like referencing through them just to try to figure out, okay, what's this? I remember seeing that before. Is X, Y, Z, A, B, C? What the hell does that mean? Oh, it's in 2 places. That has to anyway. It's just holy crap. I'm loving it.
Yeah, I believe when I finished it, I had about like 400 Steam screenshots of just stuff that I was keeping track of. Crazy.
It's utterly wonderful. Oh boy, I cannot possibly tell. If everyone out there, if you like narrative games, Blake Manor and Blueprints, they'll really hit you where you live.
Sorry, I should say also with Blueprints specifically, it's very much of that game is very much you're at the mercy of RNG. So I would say,
yes, you are.
To anyone listening out there that is interested in it, be patient with it because you will get to room 46 eventually, but it might take you slightly longer than everyone else just because of the nature of the RNG in the game.
Also, it took me, from what I've seen, people sometimes get it around the 30th day. It took me way longer, not because I kept getting distracted by the other mysteries. Like I kept figuring stuff out almost before I should have figured stuff out. So I'd be like, okay, and I'd explore this area that had opened up and like figuring out puzzles there for a while. And of course, once you actually get to room 46, it becomes a hell of a lot easier to get to room 46 somehow, which is pretty funny, even though you're not trying it. There is some RNG in this game, although it does seem like there's less RNG after you get to room 46. There's still some, obviously, but it seems like there's a little bit less.
No, there definitely is. I don't know if that's actually, there's something behind the scenes with that is actually, there is actually something to that. But what the whole run up to room 46 can be very strenuous, depending on your personal patience with the RNG stuff. But once you get there, I don't want to say it's smooth sailing, but it's a much nicer ride than it was to get there in the first place.
The worst is when earlier, I think it was like day 29 or something like that. I had gotten everything. I'd found the lever. I had gotten to the antechamber. I was one room away from the antechamber, and I didn't have a key.
Yeah, that happened to me a few times.
Couldn't open the damn door, couldn't get to the antechamber, and you're just like, or even worse, you do have a key and you don't have any more dice to re-roll the room, and none of your rooms have an exit to that direction.
Yeah, and you just have dead ends left. You're like, fuck.
Yeah, exactly. It does make you want to pull your hair out, but the design of the puzzles in this thing is just exceptional. There was one other thing I really, really quickly wanted to shout out, and it's one of the cooler things I found on the internet lately. Julia Minamata, she's the solo developer of The Crimson Diamond, which was one of my favorite games I played. Was it this year? It might actually have been this year. It's a retro pastiche text parser adventure, and it is perfect at what it does. It perfectly replicates that feeling of early Sierra adventure games. And the text parser is real smart. So you don't often have it say, I do not understand that. It's really, really good. Anyway, a couple of months ago, she announced that she was doing a sort of a fan game. And the fan game was of one of my all-time favorite animated miniseries, Over the Garden Wall. this, I think, is the best thing since It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, to watch before Halloween. But honestly, just watch. If you have not seen this show and you like animation, you should just watch it anytime. It's shockingly good. It's unbelievably good. Anyway, Julia made an Over the Garden Wall fan game. And I'm wondering if you can hear the quotes I'm putting around fan game, because most fan games don't include the creator of the show, a gentleman by the name of Patrick McHale, as a consultant, like the background and music artist who played on the game, and the voice of Elijah Wood reprising his role as Word. So it's a fan game that involves a lot of the people who actually worked on it, and it's super short. It's like 50 minutes. It's classic point and click adventure game. It just returns us to the unknown, the world of Over the Garden Wall, and I just loved it. Possibly because A, I adore Over the Garden Wall, and B, I love Julia's work. She's just is an exceptionally good designer of this style of gaming, and also she's Canadian. So I would recommend checking her out online. I know she does streams and stuff like that if you are ever into this kind of thing, or if you're into Over the Garden Wall and you have been desperate for just a little taste, 15-minute hit, absolutely check it out. It's free. It's up on her itch page, and yeah. Anyway, so we're going to move on to the discussion question now, and this is going to be a super quick discussion question, simply because it's a Sunday and I am rapidly running out of energy. Not something you want the host to admit, but oh my God, this over the last hour, this stupid vaccine, this stupid flu shot is just draining me like a battery. So we are rapidly approaching the end of the year, and although I do know that the end of the year is a completely arbitrary date, it does provide a nice deadline for things. So I'm curious, both of you, what games on your 2025 backlog would you like to get done before the end of the year? And I recognize that backlogs can certainly go back literal decades, but I was specifically want you to focus on games that were released this year.
Oh boy, so many good games released. I still have yet to play, the original Hollow Knight, let alone Silk Song. Look Outside, a horror indie game. I've been looking to play that. Detective Instinct, obviously. I am a huge Ace Attorney fan and a huge Hotel Dusk fan. Please put Hotel Dusk on Switch, and Last Window, the sequel.
Yes.
Oh my God, why are they not on Switch already? Kyle Hyde, I love you. You're the best detective. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I've been really meaning to play. I still haven't played the original. If only December was longer. I have so many games to get to. Just a whole lot of indies for me, basically.
Oh, I have two very specific ones. Mine would be Claire Obscure Expedition 33, because I keep hearing such good things about it, and my copy is just judging me on my shelf.
If it doesn't sweep the Game Awards in a couple of months, everyone's going to be surprised.
Yeah. And Street Fighter 6 Years 1-2 Fighters Edition for Switch 2, just because I was like, that was one of the main reasons I got a Switch 2, and I haven't been able to play it yet. Really try it out. So that's
an excellent reason to buy a Switch 2.
Yes.
And as I understand it, one of the only ones right now, until at least Metroid Prime 4 comes out. For me, I have two games that are, I have a massive backlog, and there are a lot of 2025 games on it. But for me, one I would like to play is Avowed, because this was a very big year for Obsidian Entertainment. I really enjoyed the Outer Worlds 2 that I played a few weeks ago. And I would really actually enjoy, I enjoy their style of role-playing game. So I feel like I'd like to try to get into Avowed. But the big one is Hades 2. I've had it installed for a while. I haven't gotten the chance to play it yet because I know for a fact it is utterly going to consume my life. So that seems like a good thing to play over the holidays. Be like, come and open a present. I'm like, I can't. I'm in the middle of a good run. So yeah, Hades 2 is probably the game I'm going to play most of December. Providing, of course, that I can actually get through the rest of Blue Prince. Because
there's a lot of good just one more run games this year.
There are. Roguelikes are popular for a reason. And for our attention starved, I guess, brains being just one more. That's a compelling argument to make. And if you're looking for a way to buy just one more thing for Christmas, you can visit our shop at rpgfan.com/shop. That was torturous, but I'm going to go with it.
I thought it was a good segue.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
seamless.
that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I'm thinking about, wow, this shirt is getting really, really hot right now. Even though it's a t-shirt, it's an Arism t-shirt. So I'm going to wrap this up pretty quick. So the store, we have lots of things in there. If you're looking for some nice Christmas presents that are RPG fan themed, mugs. We keep joking about the shorts, and we should have some other stuff coming out next year. Another way you can support us here at RPG Fan is by checking out our other podcasts. You're currently listening to Random Encounter, and last week we chatted about a game that I mentioned a few minutes ago, which is The Seance at Blake Manor, and a remaster, although honestly I look at it and I kind of feel like it's a remake of a classic adventure game, Siberia. It's Siberia Remastered. We also have Retro Encounter, and in the last episode, I made an appearance with some other fine panelists to talk about Obsidian. Again, the makers of Avowed and stuff. So another dev that I mentioned just a minute ago. And then on last week's Rhythm Encounter, they were diving into classic JRPG magical element archetypes of water, earth, fire, and air. So each song represented a different element. Audra, you were on that one. Was it pure Viagra? That was a horrible joke.
It was pretty fun. It was very Avatar-esque. We had a lot of fun making Avatar puns. So
awesome. If you'd like to get in contact with us here, you can fire us off a message at podcast@rpgfan.com. If you have any suggestions for the discussion question we talked about there, anything you'd like us to mention, focus on, fire off a message. Love to hear from you. If you'd like to send me an email, you can do so at my email, jlogan@rpgfan.com. And you can also find me at johnologan.bluesky.social. Tom, where can we find you online?
So I'm mainly on Blue Sky these days. YoDoops, DOOPS on Blue Sky. Don't ask me why. I don't know either.
Cool. And Audra?
You can find me on email at audrab@rpgfan.com.
Awesome. If you enjoyed this podcast, please help us get the word out there by sharing it with your friends. And you could also rate us on iTunes or your other podcast player of choice. Tom, Audra, thank you very much for joining me today. It's a Sunday, it's end of the weekend, so I appreciate you giving me an hour of your afternoon.
Thank you for suffering through it with us.
Yeah.
It's great as always. Thank you.
It wasn't suffering. It just feels like a mild fever. Yes. So to everyone out there, I am going to be taking off my shirt as soon as this is over, maybe splashing some water on my face. Yeah, it's hot, but not in that way. And I'm probably going to play some more Blueprints. So to everyone out there, whatever you're playing, have fun.